Hello guys, Nigel the Review, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and finally here we are at last. It is now Saturday the 25th of February 2023, and I finally have in my hands this beautiful ICM Sikorsky CH-54A Tarhe US heavy helicopter known as the Sky Crane. So really pleased to have this. I haven't looked in the box. It is literally just arrived, and as promised I said I would do a review as soon as it arrives. So made in Ukraine. I'm in a bit of a fluster because I just run up the stairs with it. So made in Ukraine, 1/35 scale, a kit we've all been waiting for a long time. 53054, and as you can see my new lighting is working wonderfully, even though this box is mega glossy. So looking around the box, we've got some history on the aircraft there, so you can pause, freeze, whatever, and then you can have a read of that. We've got some information there carrying on about the actual kit itself, and then we've got for adult collectors age 14 and over. I can't show the end of the box because it's basically level with the lens. So basically on the end of the box we've just got the same sort of artwork as we have on the front, and then on the side here we've got a couple of images of two different aircraft. Yes, we have two different liveries, so I'm guessing that's what we get in the box. If you want to see a good look at the instructions, if you go to Scalemates, you will see there on Scalemates they have the instructions there. So as you can see, this one is still taped up. So we'll remove the tape from here and from there because it's probably going to be one of those typical ICM wonderful boxes. Those who follow me will know that ICM have actually sent me one of these, which is very nice of them to review and promote for them, and that one is currently in the system. So I've bought this one myself to get a review in because I know you've all been waiting to see it. So removing the box, we've actually got two boxes in one lid, so that's quite interesting. So we'll have a look here. So two white cardboard boxes, probably playing havoc with the camera. So in here we've got a bag of sprues, so could have got another little kit in there, but we hope. But very nicely bagged up all together, unfortunately, but I'm sure everything will be fine because it's all fairly tightly bagged up together. It's when you get like this with little sprues and they're all dancing around and sliding against each other, but I'm sure these will be absolutely fine. So there's that little lot, and then we've got another box here, and in here we've got our clear parts. Just get this out of the way. We've got our clear parts, which look to be extremely clear. And as I was saying to you the other day when I was talking about the Border Models kit, you can see here the clear part has only one sprue connection, and that gets rid of your problems. But even on here we've got a little bit of scuffing where that's rubbed on the plastic, but that'll easily polish out. And here we've got another bag, again pretty tightly wrapped. We've got lots of little tiny parts on there. I mean, there's nothing, I can't even see a part that's come off the sprue. So it's typical of ICM to do it this way, and it just seems to work. So when manufacturers like Airfix do it, they tend to sort of sometimes be some problems. Revell certainly get away with it, but got some nice little boxes there to put Christmas presents in for people. So what we will do, we will start with the instructions. Now, can I get the instructions in the screen? Yes, I can. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go, so we can have a good close look at these. So what I'm going to put my cutting mat there, so I know that if I keep the instructions on the edge of the cutting mat, then I know I'm okay. So basically, showing on the front here, we've got some information about the aircraft. It started off in Ukrainian, then we're coming over here into the British, or English language, should I say. And then we've got some features about the aircraft here. This is a paint system they're going to be bringing out. I don't know about ICM paint, so I don't know if they're acrylic or enamel or what they are. They're probably acrylic. But they're actually doing these ranges of paint, so you can get like a full set of paints for this aircraft alone. And then here you can see we've got the colour call outs. Funny because the English is there, and on here the English is there, or yeah, sort of swapped over. But we've got the English here. Oh, sorry, it's Ukrainian at the front and English at the back. Sorry, sorry ICM, that was my fault. But we basically got some colour call outs here, and they've got them in Revell and in Tamiya. Not in their own colour. Oh, they have their own colours there, sorry, ICM. So you can get their own colours, or you can use Revell, or you can use Tamiya, or just cross-reference it. Basically, you're looking at, like, you know, a deep red, a deep orange, rubber black. You know, everybody does these colours: steel, oily steel, clear red, dark sea grey. I'll be doing a build of this starting straight away, and you can follow along if you want to see what colours I use. And what I will do is I will just reference pictures and choose a colour from there. It's you know, there's no sort of science or you know, direct, accurate, actual way to paint the engine, because the engine will change colour with age and the conditions it's working in. So there we go. So going over the page here, we're into the manual now, and this is our sprue callouts. We've got our decals there, which look very nice. We'll have a look at those in a second. So here we've got our sprue callouts. You can see here this part is shaded out, so that one's not going to be used. There is another version of this kit coming on with a daisy cutter bomb hanging underneath. No doubt they will do this as the modern one with the firefighting equipment, and I'll bet your bottom dollar they'll do this in 48 scale as well, which will make a lot of people happy. A diorama of this picking up a beaten up Chinook would be absolutely amazing. I've been talking to Jeff Donahue about the ways of going around it. So if you haven't seen Jeff's channel, go take a look at Jeff Donahue's modelling channel. He's absolutely brilliant. Some great stuff on there. So you can see sprue callouts, many parts. They're all numbered as well, which is good. So if you sort of, you know, if you take those two off the spruce, say down there 82 and 83, you're not sure which is which, you can come back here and you can see which is which. So that's always a good thing. And then here we've got the clear parts. And then here we've got our rotors. So you're going to end up with one spare rotor. Interesting fact about the rotors, on the inner end of the rotor blade, it's probably that thing there is a valve, and it's colour coded. And what they do, they put 10 psi of nitrogen in each rotor blade in the main column of the rotor blade. And then that nitrogen will obviously be in a sealed capsule, if you like. The actual spar for the rotor blade is a sealed capsule. And that thing will be coloured green, say, when it's got nitrogen present. If you remove the presence of nitrogen from that spar, that will change to, say, blue. So a quick visual inspection, if you see it blue, you know you've got a crack in your spar because the nitrogen's leaked out. What a fantastic idea. Anyway, so into the build, we're straight in with the cockpit. I'm not sure what those two things there are. We've got the rudder pedals going in here. It's telling us to paint them all. The A, I believe, is rubber black, and then the D is going to be like a dark grey, is it? D is sky grey. So you've got the, I'm going to do this like XF54 or something like that. So the interior is basically grey with some black features and stuff. So you've got the main instrument panel there going onto the console. You've got the console being built up. And here we're going to build up one of our sticks. I can't remember now. It's cyclic and what's the other one? I can't. Collective. You've got cyclic and collective. So that's really good. So you've got like a multi-part assembly there. So that's going to look lovely. You're probably going to see a lot of that through the door there. In fact, no, that's the one that's in the middle of the cockpit. So this one is a one-piece assembly and that one's multi-part. Whatever. And then going over here, we've got the seats. Worth noting in this kit, there is no photo etch. So no photo etch seat belts or anything. I don't know if they've done it for the same reason as Airfix. You know, if you start putting photo etch parts in kits, they sort of become, you know, you need to be over 14 and stuff like that. But then it says that on the box anyway, so I don't know. But there is no photo etch, so the aftermarket are going to jump all over this. So I will build this one out of the box, and then I will build the one that comes from ICM. I think I will build that with all the added extras. All the companies are going to make lots of stuff for this, so that'll be interesting. I think I may see if I can find some seat belts for this, or indeed make them, whatever. Here we got the third pilot's seat, and this guy is facing backwards, looking down. So he's looking backwards out of the cockpit, sort of down in here, looking out. So basically, he will have control of the helicopter when they're doing the sort of technical lifting and stuff. So like on the firefighters, he will control the firefighting equipment, get the boom into the water, pick up the water, and then go off and allow the water to release at certain times. So you've got his controls going in together here. He's got a little instrument panel. He's got a little control stick there, and that's all going together. Again, you can add lots of cabling and stuff to really liven this up. But if you just want to build a model out of the box, do a bit of dry brushing, it'll look absolutely great. So here we've got some panels going in. I'm guessing, is that going to be a clear part there? Is F a clear part? Not so sure. No, it's not. So there's a panel going in there. I thought that might have been a window or something. A panel going in there, and then we've got all our clear parts here going in. You could either paint the whole cockpit assembly, and then put the windows in, or you could paint around that area green and then put the windows in and then roughly mask with some blue tack, or indeed you could glue the windows in and then mask them, you know, really nice and tidy. Art Scale Kit will be making a mask set for this as soon as he can get some hands on some clear parts. And no, I'm not going to send him my clear parts. I'm referring to my Airfix Spitfire there. So here we've got the winch going together. The actual winch drum itself looks like the cable is moulded on, which is fine. I don't think you're going to see that unless you look up underneath, so that's going to be perfectly adequate. And then we've got the winch driving mechanism there. And then we've got the winch going together here. The winch is going between these sandwich plates. We've got these big stiffeners, these big sort of vertical rails that's going to make it all very rigid. Otherwise it's going to want to be very floppy in the middle. I think this assembly is going to be very, very strong indeed. Some more bits there. It's all sort of going together like a lattice work, like sort of thing you get in a separated toolbox. And then there's the main boom going in there for the undercarriage legs. Got some bulkheads going in there, some more bulkheads going in there. As you can see, this assembly is coming together and becoming very big and very strong. Make sure when you build this, I'll be building this, as I say, you can follow along with me if you want to. We'll make sure we keep all that flat and square, don't get any twist in it, don't get any bow in it. Make sure it goes together nicely. Adding in the tail sections here, they're telling us to remove something there, and then we're adding this detail on the back, and there's a small detail part going on the back, not quite sure what that is. Adding the roof of the main structure, and then the roof of the tail, and then the front of the tail going on there. And then we're adding the main cockpit assembly into the front of that. So we've now got this huge, great Leviathan we've got to deal with. This is going to be the overhead console going in. These are the fuel cut-off levers, I believe. I saw a documentary, and at least 2 of these levers, when you're doing the start procedure, if the engine doesn't fire or whatever in a certain amount of time, you pull those levers down and it cuts the fuel or something. So you can see here we've got another console going in there, and then that console that we built there is going in. And then we're adding the roof to the cockpit, and then we've got some more glazing going in. And then we've got these parts here, which I believe are parts of the undercarriage. No, they're sponsons that are sticking out on the front of the cockpit there. And then we've got this assembly here. These are like filters, probably some sort of hydraulic filters for the crane mechanism, or fuel filters. And they've got those protective plates around, and they're going on the side there. And you've got this array of hydraulic piping going on. And then we're building up a wheel. So that's going to be the main undercarriage, because there's 2 of them. So it's nice to see they're plastic rather than vinyl tyres. We've got the undercarriage leg sponsons going there, building the undercarriage legs themselves up. So they're going to be nice and strong, hopefully. If not, we can drill through there and put some wire in. And then we've got oleos going on, adding the undercarriage legs to the sponsons there, and then doing the same all the over again. And then here we're building up the actual main hook for the winch. This is going to be our nose gear leg, and there's our nose wheel going together. It looks like we don't have weight on tyres. And then we're adding all the undercarriage and the winch hook in there. And then we've got some little greebly going on the tail there, whatever that may be. Hydraulic pipes going in the sides. And then we've got, that's going to be our main shaft for our rotor by the look of it. Or is that part of the engine? No, it looks like that is part of the tail rotor. So more bits and pieces going together here. So it's a multi-part assembly for the hub of the tail rotor. So that's going to look lovely. Gets chipped up and weathered and make it look dirty. And then we're going to add that onto the tail there. We've got some more piping going on here. Looks like it's probably brake lines or something. So that's all cool. And then we've got a drive going in there for the tail rotor. And then we've got some bits and pieces going on the back of the tail here. Some more hydraulic pipes. Make sure you get your seam lines cleaned up on them nicely, guys. Again, watch me do the build. I'll show you how I get rid of them. Nice, get a nice looking pipe rather than having a piece of plastic with a mould seam top and bottom. Little gearbox there going in the back, and then the main drive shaft going up into the tail rotor there. And then we've got some bits and pieces going on the roof. Some more hydraulic piping. Looks like we've got some connectors in there as well. That's all going to look great with a bit of super detail and painting. And then some more bits and pieces going together here. More assemblies, valves and what knows what. And then we've got some shrouds going over the undercarriage here. They're optional, so it looks like some had them and some didn't. We shall see. Be good to leave them off and have all that pipework exposed. It'll look a lot more interesting to look at. And then here we are onto the main rotor head. So it's all looking very nice, very, very busy. Lots and lots of bits and pieces going in there. As you can see, all going together here. We've got a gearbox going on the front with filters and whatever is on there. And then we've got these parts here again going on, which are optional. and we're going to glue our tail rotor our main rotor head into the top of the actual fuselage there, and then we're going to add lots of little linkages and brackets and bits and pieces in there. So that's obviously the control levers and stuff for changing the pitch and everything. So very, very nice indeed. Here we go now with some sort of box on the back. My research isn't gone that long to know what things are. And then we're going to add the actual main drive shaft into the tail rotor there. We've got a protective cover going over that shaft there for some reason. And then here we've got more bits and pieces going together. This looks like some sort of radiator, some sort of cooling fan assembly going in there. And then more bits and pieces and brackets and little round bits and pieces, and I don't know what any of them are. And it looks like here we've made a start on the engine, so there's two of those, two of those, two of those, two of those. Yes, we're going to build up 2 engines, and then I'm guessing at some point we're going to come to they're going to separate into left and right. Lots of assemblies here. Like looking here, we've got the this assembly here. This is the intake by the look of it, or part of the exhaust. I'm not sure. It's part of the exhaust, isn't it? Sort of get them together, early days, and get these halves. Look around for stuff like this where you've got parts like this. We've got 2 halves going together. Get them glued together, put them back in the box like here, and then when you need them, they're there ready to use, rather than get to here, glue these halves together, and then have to wait for a few hours for your glue to dry and everything, and then you can work on the seams. If you get all this done up front, then when you actually get to this stage, you can just fire straight into building your engines up. So again, we've got all this together, coming together, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. And it looks like here we've split up now into these singles, so, and here as well. So you've got our exhaust there, so you've got a variation in colour choices, and then adding the exhaust onto the back of the engines, and then we're starting to add the engines in here. So we've got one there with its drive shaft coming out the back, going into the gearbox there on the side of the main rotor head, and then we're adding the other one here. So all that looking, we could get some metallics and burning and a bit of corrosion here and there, and that really get them to come to life. And we'll look at doing that when we build it. Here we've got they are called, their official name is engine air particle intake. So these actually go, they're basically an air filter for the engine. So look at whatever you're doing and look if you actually need them or not. I think they use them on modern ones these days. But I've got a feeling when you look at like Vietnam and stuff, they probably didn't have them. But worth looking if you want to get them on there. But you might want to leave the intakes open so you can see all that lovely detail inside. So we should have a look. I don't know if on the box top, I can't remember now. Does on the box be the same on the front of the instructions? Do they have them on there? Yes, they do. They have them on there. So pays your money, takes your choice, I guess. And then here we have the little outbound winches. These are smaller winches. There's 4 of them, and I think they're for picking up the big sort of caravan thing. They pick up the big container thing. That'll be something they'll make, no doubt, that you can add into your collection. So we've got 4 of those going on, actually 4 separate winches. So 171, it's just a 2-part winch. It's nothing, oh no, it's a 3-part winch. The 2 halves going together and the main hook. So it's nothing too fancy, but it's going to look great in 35th scale. Adding those winches to that side, you've got the little drive shaft for the winch coming there. You've got some little bits of lights and greeblies going in the bottom of the actual cockpit there. Some more pipe work going in. And then we've got the footsteps going up the sides to enable the guys to get up on top. Same on the other side. Separate windscreen wipers. Again, you know, some companies will do this with photo etch. I can assure you when we look at the parts, ICM will have made these beautifully moulded with their wonderful plastic that you know I love so much. Here we've got the tail steady, tail protector if you like. That is capable of folding up. So if you are doing a sort of diorama where it's collecting something, that may well be folded up to give it more clearance to go over rather than hit that on whatever it is they're picking up. So keep your eyes on that one. And then we've got the tail plane going on there. And then over the page, we've got the tail rotor assembly. So we've got multi-blades on the tail rotor. We've got some oil or something on there. And then we've got the actual main spindle here. And then we're starting to build up the beautifully detailed rotor head. As you can see, it's all lovely. You can make 6 of those up. Very, very good looking assembly. Probably build this early days, and then when you come to fit your rotors, it's all dry and hard, and it's not going to sort of pull everything out. And it looks as though here, it's looking like we've got it looks like you may be able to snap the rotor blades into place which will be really nice if you have a narrow shelf space, because then you could sort of leave those two off, and then you could stand it on a narrow shelf and have these blades sticking out and just have those blades resting on the side. It looks like you could get those in without gluing them. We shall see. But beautiful tail, I keep calling it tail rotor. Beautiful main rotor head. Main, Nigel, main. And then we've got a clear part going in the middle there. It's a bit unusual. And then dropping the main rotor head in, that's really good because now you can display your model and drop that in. If you have to glue those blades in, and then you can store that next to it. So here we go with option 1, and lovely, this is something that Trumpeter seem to have stopped doing and other companies have carried on. So we've got Sikorsky CH-54A Tarhe 67-1840 273rd Assault Helicopter Support Helicopter Company, Vietnam, 1968. So that's pretty cool. If you've got the Chinook from Trumpeter in 35th scale, I believe they've got the same scheme with the orange tail, so this would go very nicely with that one if you've got it. And then this one here is, again, it's got the orange tail. So this one now is the 101st Airborne Division, Vietnam, 1969. So that is probably the one that most of you will do. As I say, the aftermarket is going to be all over this like a rash, and it'll be good to see, and I will try and get all of it and put it into my second build. So here we've got the Decals sheet, and ICM Decals are wonderful. I really like using them. They're a little bit glossy, but they go down beautifully, and when you seal them in, you're going to be glossing over them anyway. But you can see here they're perfectly in register, very, very sharp. Whether you decide to use any of this or not, I do not know. I may use it on this one because it's an out-of-the-box build. We're assuming, guys, that this is the kit that ICM have sent me to promote for them and do a build. That's what we're assuming. So there we go. Tiny Tim there. Hey Tim, Tiny Tim. So there we are, and then we've got some stenciling there. Again, being a helicopter, Vietnam era, it's not going to have a lot on it, but what you've got there is beautifully done and very sharp and crisp. So let me get myself sorted and we'll start looking at some plastic. Right, so first things first, this is what came out of the first box. So here we can see resealable bag, which is nice, and then all of these sprues together will come out as one. And we have no broken loose parts, no damage that I can see. Bearing in mind this has come from Ukraine to Hanantz to, I'm assuming Hanantz is the distributor of the E-model that Jadlam use, to Jadlam, back up to me via raw mail, and there's no damage whatsoever. So we have a load of sprues there. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So this is, luckily it all feels nice and clean as well, it doesn't need a wash. This is sprue D. So we've got the moulded on rather than the cut out letter. It looks like a disc brake and caliper there. So here we've got sprue D, and this is our main spars. These are the bits that go inside the actual main over the top. This bit here, the main body of the fuselage, if you like. So they're going inside there to add some rigidity. All these little pieces that'll interlock, like little tabs. It'll be like building a card model almost. And it's all going to be very, very strong and very solid. But you can see here, as you can see, the plastic is wonderful. The moulding is extremely crisp. We'll look at, I'm not going to bother putting that light on, I don't think. I'm going to just leave my ordinary light on. But you can see here, the moulding on there is absolutely stunning. On that, they're the side of the air intakes. So as I say, aftermarket's going to be all over that. I can just see this now with a piece of Edward photo etch gone on there. Sand that off, stick the photo etch on. It's going to make it hollow. Rotor head there, which is all very beautifully done. And again, we got some parts here. I'm guessing that's the sides of the winch. But, very, very nice indeed. Very small ejector pin marks. Piece of grass or something there. Very small ejector pin marks, and they're all very, very shallow, and of course they're all invisible, so beautifully done. And I really do enjoy, I'm not just saying this because ICM have given me a kit, I really do, go back and look at my previous videos, I really do love the ICM plastics and the crispness of their moulding, and you know, it's just lovely. We've got some beautiful raised rivet detail on there and on there. And it's all Really, really, really nice. I'll give you a close-up now. Here's some more sides of those air intakes by the look of it. It's part of our, these are the shrouds for the undercarriage legs. These bits are optional. These bits actually go in the sides. We've got our main wheels there, or is that our nose wheel? That's probably our nose wheel because there's only one of them. But yeah, this is Sprue C. I don't know if you're going to catch it in the light, but the raised rivet detail on there is exquisite. Very, very nice indeed. There you go. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see on this one you've got this sort of this variation in the rivet pattern. Really nice, proper rivet count in there. Here we've got the main, this is going to be the main roof area. Again, bolt head detail, rivet detail. I mean, this is just, it's gorgeous. You have to be really careful with your sanding sticks, guys, because you're going to destroy all this with a couple of strokes. Ooh, misses. This is the actual base. The winch is going to come down through here. You can see you've got all these vents here. If you want to, you could sand this from behind or grind it from behind and make all those hollow. We've got the back end, or this is the back end of the cockpit there with the windows in. We've got the main cockpit floor, which is beautifully done. You've got the seat rails there, which are very crisp. You've got the gaiters around the bottom of the rudders there. But again, all lovely and big. I have, as you know, asked ICM if they would do a Sea King in 35th scale, and that would be a joy, wouldn't it? And I've also asked them to do a nice Huey, an Iroquois for us. That would be nice as well. And the rivet detail on there, they've managed to mould that by putting it on an angle. They've managed to keep the rivet detailing going over the top without having to use a slide mould. So it softens off slightly. That may be the underneath, actually, thinking about it. It probably is the underneath, so it's not so important. But very, very nicely done. That is the underneath, isn't it? You can see the rivet detail on there is gorgeous. And the detail there on that main roof section. And then this is the underside of that roof section. Very nicely done. Here we have Sprue B. So this is our main tail, sides of the tail. Again, I'll give you a close-up in a minute, you'll see the detail. This is that tail plane. My God, this thing's going to be big. Look at the size of that. Compared to my hand, it's huge. And then these are going to be the sides of the main body of the thing. So our undercarriage legs are going to come out here. Again, beautiful raised rivet detail. Little bit of damage on there from where the parts have been rubbing around. So maybe ICM maybe put something over this or pack it slightly differently. But we just lost a bit of rivet detail there. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. You can see on there the beautiful, crisp detail. And I'm sure somebody from ICM will be watching this. Looking at that, there's going to be a lot of people that will really bother, unfortunately. I would seriously consider not packing these on top of that, because what's happened is these legs here have taken the rivets off of there, I think. Perhaps put them in a separate bag and just have this in the rest of it and have a separate bag for them, because I think they've moved around and caused a bit of damage on there. So yeah, but it's not the end of the world. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4... It's about 8 rivets missing. It's not going to be a big thing, you know. But it would be nicer if it was perfect. So there we go. But yeah, very, very nice. And you can see on here you've got the detail. Little mounting circles on there for bits and pieces. And there's a rivet detail on there. It's stunning. So here we have our rotor blades. Our nice big long spars. And you can see the way they go in. They just sort of slot in on these... on the ends here. So it looks like you're going to be able to just slot them in and they'll just sit there. They don't seem to have any sag in them. Oh yes, they do. They do have a sag in them, actually. It's very slight, but I'm guessing that they're going to sag under their own weight because they are, as you can see, pretty flexible. So yeah, they're going to be nice indeed. Lovely, lovely to see. So I'm going to put them that way so they don't damage those rivets anymore. So we'll put over that there. In fact, I'm going to get that all bagged up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so here we are now with bag 2. And there we go. I mean, I've got to be honest, guys, I would much prefer to see these sprues individually bagged rather than all bagged together like this. But this is the way ICM do it, and I must be honest, I've never really had much of an issue with it. It's, as I say, it's not like some other kits where all the bags are all the parts are floating around in the bag, and the parts get broken, parts get rubbed against each other. I mean, we've seen that tiny bit of damage on there with those parts. And what I've done here, maybe ICM should consider the same. I've put it in here like this, so everything's like that. The rivets are facing outwards on the parts so they don't get damaged, and the blades are separate. So it's them that has caused the damage with those legs on the back. So I think if they'd have put them in that way rather than that way, it would have been a lot better. But just a little suggestion there for ICM, not criticising or anything, but you know, I can see the point of not using individual bags in this day and age. You know, everybody's caring about, you know, one-use plastics and everything, which is basically what this is to all intents and purposes. But you know, as you can see here, it's all stayed together. It's all nice, and it's when they all start sliding around on top of each other you get the damage. So you know, and when Revell do it, like I say, they generally sellotape the bags up nice and tight so nothing can move around, which is it's absolutely fine then. But it's when they're loose that it causes a problem. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So here we have the main sides of the cockpit. Again, they are beautifully done with all the rivet detail on. I'm not seeing any flash, hardly any seam lines on anything. Beautifully done. Very, very nice indeed. You can see all the very fine hinge detail on those front panels there. And I could just see a sea king here. Can you see a sea king there? So yeah, really, really nice. There's the roof. Or is that's the front. That's the belly, that's the roof. Okay, so that piece that we looked at where the riveting faded away, that was on the underside, so that's nothing to worry about. But you can see on there the absolutely gorgeous, stunning detail on there. Those riveted parts are beautiful. And you can see again on the roof, the detail there is all raised. So, like I say, you have to be very careful with your sanding stick. This is going to be Mr. Surfacer and then cotton bud territory. And that we can get rid of our seams that way rather than doing any sanding. But if the fit on this is as good as I've seen on other ICM kits, then we should be laughing. Let's get rid of this bag because it's got glue on it. And then here we have another sprue. This is all going to be engine parts on here. So now we're getting into our greeblies, which is lovely, which we all love. So here we've got main undercarriage wheels. You can see we've got the disc brakes and the calipers there. We've got the engine intake, engine exhausts. Get some metallizers on these. We've got main halves of the engine. So that's going to be the combustion chamber outer casing by the look of it, CCOC. And then we've got the outer fan area there. We've got some main rotor head parts there. You can see, as I said, these are going to form like a pair of duckbills and your blades are just going to slide in. Very, very nice indeed. Very, very nice indeed. We've got some hoses here. It's got lagging drive shafts with universal joints on them. Some little filter housings there. More of the main rotor head. I'll give you a close-up of this now. I'll probably put some photographs up as well. But it's all beautifully done. I mean, I like that there. There's a pipe underneath my finger or above my finger, that pipe. It's got lagging on it. Look at that. That's great. Bit of paint, a bit of a wash on there, make it look like it's some sort of material. Very, very nice indeed. Look at that little hook there for one of those winches. So that means we've probably got 4 of these sprues, I'm guessing. It looks like, yes, it looks like we have. Or yeah, we have got 4. So that's a sprue H, and there's 4 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no. Oh no. Missing part. In fact, if we've got 4 of these, we may well have 4 engines, guys. Because there's 4 intakes. We've got spare wheels and tyres. We've got spare engines. We'll have to have a look when we come to build this, because it looks like we're going to have spare engines, which is going to be great. Say this engine is in a Chinook, say. If you've got a Trumpeter 135th Chinook, then you're going to be laughing all the way to the bank, because you're going to have beautifully detailed engines to go in it. And I'm just looking on here to see if there's any. Yes, there we go. Phew, I was worried that I'd lost that part, or that part was missing, but there it is. It's come off in the sprue. But it does have a very, very small sprue connection point. So again, this is one of the issues with having sprues bagged up together. You know, maybe put those 4 together and bag them, and then bag them up separately, you know, rather than have it all in one bag. But there we go. So I've got that upside down, haven't I, somehow? Yeah, it's that way round. What's going on? This sprue's actually... Oh, I see that part's... I was looking at that part there being that way around. It's just twisted over. So this one's had a bit of a knock-in. This one, it's got a part broken off there, a part twisted there. But it looks like with 4 sprues, we've got spares of everything. So that's really nice. You're definitely going to have a couple of spare wheels. They're going to be really nice for something, aren't they? So, very cool. So here we have sprue F. And this is one on its own. We don't have 2 sprue Fs. And here we have some more absolutely beautiful moulding. We've got our main rotor head parts there. Got a part there waiting to fall off. Not exactly sure what they are there, but there's something or other. Tail rotor parts by the look of it. And then we've got our instrument panel there. We've got some panels on the sides. Some main drive shafts here for the tail rotor. Are they in halves? Nope, they're one piece moulded. We've got hydraulic lines there. Very, very nice indeed. There's our main spindle for our head. We've got the winch hook there. And we've got a centre console. Looks like we've got separate levers going in there. Or provision for separate levers that the aftermarket will make. So there we go. You can see in there all the detail. Absolutely gorgeous. Really, really nice. There's one of your main gear legs there by the look of it. Or is that the nose gear leg? I'm just looking to see. I would have thought the main gear legs would have been on here. No, that probably is a main gear. Yeah, because there's the other one there. So we've got 2 main gear legs. So they're probably going to be more than strong enough to support it. Although I'm sure Aerocraft or someone will come up with brass undercarriage legs. I wouldn't bother with the white metal ones because they'll just bend there. But these will probably be perfectly strong enough. So yeah, very nice indeed. Got a control panel there. You can see all the detail. And we've got another fuse box there, fuse panel by the look of it. Main rotor head. Those bits there, they look like bloody bombs. I don't know what they are. Tail rotor mechanism. Instrument panel. Very, very nice. Note there's no flash. It's all very crisp and clean. It's all lovely. Very nice indeed. And then finally, well not finally, penultimately, this one here. Now this has got some fine parts on it, and amazed to see there's nothing broken or missing, nothing bent, twisted or anything at first glance. But you can see all this lovely fine hydraulic piping. We do have a little bit of flash going on here, but that'll only because they would have had to keep injection pressures up to guarantee a good fill along here. If you didn't have the flash, you would have poor fill, and then, you know, like sometimes when you cut these small parts off and in between the fret they just fall off, they fall apart. That's because the plastic's gone in slowly, and when it's met, it's practically cured. So you get this long shaft which is made of 5 or 6 different sections of plastic, and it'll just fall apart. That won't do that, but it means you've got to scrape a bit of flash off. So it's not the end of the world. But it's very, very beautifully done. There's lots and lots of pipes here, shafts, connections. It's mainly pipes and leverages and linkages for the rotor head and everything. So really, really nicely done. That's sprue G. So I'll just give you a run by on that close up. You can see all the lovely detail on there. It is very, very nice indeed. It's very, very nice indeed. Really, really lovely. Just goes on and on, doesn't it? You can see on there. I'll just show you on here to those that are going to talk about it, because they always do. There's a little bit of flash on there, which is absolutely nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a small price to pay for getting really good moulding. So that is in no way a criticism of the company at all. That is just gorgeous. I can imagine this sprue must be a pig to mould. Absolute pig to get all these little cuts, because you can imagine all these little bits and pieces here. They're all tiny little orifices that are made up by two halves of a tool. So remember, you know, you've got this little fine, you see this little fine tube here. The engineers have had to make that as halves, two halves of a tube into the top and bottom halves of the tool, the left and right halves of the tool. You know, so they've got it's going to be like a scratch in the surface, and then they've got to bring the tool halves together, get them to match with no mismatch, and then perfectly sealing faces that can withstand the God knows how many pounds of pressure they've had to use to fill the tool. As you can imagine, forcing plastic, you know, through that sprue gate there, along this sprue gate here, and then through all those little gates into that one, and fill it, and fill the ends, and make sure it all stays integral and you don't get any cold fronts. You know, if you know anything about injection moulding, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, watch it again, listen again, and you'll see what I'm saying. I mean, look at the moulding on those tubes there, those bars there. Incredible. I'm assuming ICM do their moulding in-house. But, yeah. Fair play to you guys. What a sterling job you've done there. I mean, look at how tiny those parts there are. You know, there's no flash or anything on them. They're perfectly moulded. Absolutely gorgeous. Hats off to you guys. Well done. Fantastic job. So that's all our grey sprues looked at. So we'll have a look now at the clear parts. And because they're resealable bags, I don't mind getting them out. The parts I'm on about, not them. So here we go. Be careful not to break that off, because if you break that off, oh, I broke that one off, look, because of the bloody glue on the bag. In fact, I'm going to cut this off now. One of my cutters, come here, because the last thing you want your clear parts to do is break off the sprue. There you go. Down there. You don't clear. If they break off, sometimes they break off and it sends like a shock wave into the plastic. You end up with like a big white mark. So we'll have a look at these first. So here's our side doors. You can see, rather than give you little windows to go in, they've moulded the doors as one. I'm assuming, yeah, so you can see the door is very much glazed on there. So rather than have a door with windows to go in, they've just moulded the whole thing in clear, which is a fantastic idea. So now you can mask that off and get a beautiful seamless finish on there. The inside is just smooth. There's no framing on the inside. So what you'll have to, I mean, ASK will come up with a mask set. Hopefully you'll have a mask set before I'm ready at that point, because I don't want to be cutting that. I don't want to slip and scratch anything. But yeah, beautifully clear. You can see there's no distortion. Or on these little windows here, that's the one that's got, I don't know why they've got a clear part in the rotor head. Maybe it's an inspection or something. But you can see, really, really nicely done. So that's that one. And then we've got our main windscreen area here. As I say, if you're getting one of these, I would suggest cutting that off, because if that breaks off there, it's probably going to give you a great big white mark right in the middle of the front. So you don't want to see that. So that is beautifully crystal clear, and I can show you, oh, bloody glue on these bags is a pain. Urgh. They're great resealable bags except for the glue. Some of them, the glue stays on the actual bag rather than on the lip, which is nice. But there we go. You can see on there, there is absolute minimal distortion, if any at all. That is gorgeous, isn't it? Very, very nice indeed. That is lovely. And then this one here that I broke off, I managed to break it off without a splinter. You can see this is the This is your third pilot's control window. You have no problem seeing any detail in there. So if you want to go overboard and really go to town on the cockpit in here, you're going to have a lot of vision in there. It's going to look absolutely beautiful, and it's going to be a big old unit. You can see here we got the actual cockpit sides, you know, so you got that, and then when you put this glazing on there as well, it's, you know, it's going to be a big old lump with all that in there. You can see how wide it is at the top. You know, it's gorgeous. It's going to be gorgeous. So I really can't wait to get into this, which I'm going to do within the next half hour. So very, very nice indeed. So there we are, guys. I'm going to wrap those up in some toilet paper, toilet tissue, nice and soft, and then put them all back away, and then they won't get scratched or marked or anything. So that has been a review of the brand new ICM Sikorsky CH-54A Tarhe. I have always been saying Tarhe, but then I watched an American documentary and they called it Tarhe, so I will say Tarhe. And there we go. So that's been the review. Thank you for watching. As I say, I'll put some photographs up now, and you can see all the parts in there. Exquisite detail, better than you can see them by me holding the front of the camera and stuff. So enjoy the bit of music, enjoy the photos, and I'll see you soon for part 1 of the build of this monster helicopter. Bye for now.